This entire situation can be summed up in two words: cash grab. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Cloudy, and today we're going to be talking about one of my most favorite childhood shows. And with the reboot coming out, unfortunately, I thought let's go through the rise and fall of Winx Club. I'm going to go through the rough timeline of Winx Club, where it started to go downhill, and then at the end I will talk about the reboot, because if I get started on it now, I will never stop. Alright, here we go. So, Winx Club is an Italian-American show that came out in 2004. It has a total of 8 seasons as of now and is recognized internationally. The show focuses on a young girl named Bloom, who stumbles upon a fight between an ogre and another young girl who is a fairy. Bloom then discovers that she herself is a fairy. She enrolls in Alfea, a school for fairies, where she meets a group of girls and they all become friends, calling themselves the Winx. The first season focuses on Bloom and her relationships with the other girls, as well as her improving in magic and learning more about the magical dimension. In the first episode, we are introduced to not only Bloom, but also another important character, Stella. Stella is the princess of Solaria and the fairy of the sun and the moon. We meet even more characters, such as the specialists of Red Fountain. There is Sky, Brandon, Timmy, and Riven. In the second episode, we first meet the other members of the Winx. Flora, who is a fairy of nature, Tekna, who is a fairy of technology, and Musa, who is a fairy of music. Bloom herself is the fairy of the dragon flame, which we'll get into later. We then meet our main antagonists for this season, and the secondary antagonists for a majority of other seasons, the Tricks. Icy, Darcy, and Stormy are witches from Cloud Tower. The witches' motivation in the first season is to get their hands on the dragon flame, so they're trying to get Stella's ring, the Ring of Solaria. Throughout the first season, we go through relationship building and bonding, while the Winx and the specialists thwart the Tricks' efforts to get the ring. In one episode, though, they finally do manage to get the ring. However, they soon find out that the dragon flame is not in Stella's ring, but rather it is in Bloom. There is more efforts from the Tricks to steal the dragon flame. Bloom goes back to Earth at one point, and so the Tricks corner her and reveal to her that she is the heir to Domino, which was a kingdom that was destroyed and vanished years prior. They then steal the dragon flame from her. The dragon flame is an ancient power that was essential in the creation of the magical dimension, and it gives a lot of power and magic to whoever possesses it. The season finale is the Winx defeating the Tricks, who are trying to take over the magical dimension. This then concludes season 1. I wanted to introduce the characters and go over the plot a bit, but I will try to be as brief as possible. So, about season 1. I think that this show was so good, and it started off really well. I've actually rewatched the first 3 seasons many times, and I still really enjoy watching this show. Season 1 introduces the characters well, and they had fun personalities, interesting relationships, and it had a mystery or question it was working towards. Bloom wants information about her powers, her parents, and about Domino. This is a theme that continues over the next 2 seasons, and when it stops, well, we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Let's get into season 2. So in season 2, we are introduced to our final member of the Winx, Layla, the fairy of waves, and the princess of Andros. Yes, I will be calling her Layla because that's what I grew up with and what I'm used to. We also meet another character, a specialist named Helia. Layla appears in the first episode, and in the second episode, she asks the Winx for help in rescuing some other characters, the Pixies, who we are introduced to for the first time. They are trapped in the lair of Darkar, who is the primary antagonist of this season. Darkar also breaks the Tricks out of prison and gives them a magic boost. There's a few episodes where the characters try to save the pixies and they deal with the inhabitants of the underground cave realm. Darkar's goal is to obtain the Codex, which essentially gives him power, allowing him to, you guessed it, take over the magical dimension. There are multiple episodes, again, developing the characters and their relationships, as well as the Winx gaining a new fairy form, the Charmix. At the end of the series, Darkar sends the Trix to capture Bloom, as her power, the Dragon Flame, is essential for him to obtain the final power that he needs to rule the magical dimension and gain ultimate power. There's a few things that happen, and the Winx and the Specialists eventually break into Darkar's lair and try to rescue Bloom, who has been turned into Dark Bloom. Sky is Sky and confesses his love, which turns Bloom back into her regular form. Then the Winx use their Charmix and finally defeat Darkar. And that ends season 2. Before we move on to season 3, which is my favorite, I want to add a few things. So first, I'm just doing a little plot run through for the first 3 seasons, and then when we get to the 4th, I'll be talking about some other aspects rather than the plot. Also, at this point, Bloom and Sky are dating, Stella and Brandon are dating, Flora and Helia are dating, and I believe Timmy and Tekna are also dating, or they like each other. And Riven and Musa are, well, let's just say if you ingested them, you would die. Now, let's talk about season 3, which is arguably the best season, in my opinion. So, we start with Stella getting ready to host/attend her planet's annual Princess Ball, which is hosted by her father, King Radius, who has a surprise for her. Stella hopes that this means her parents will get back together. The Trix, meanwhile, are sent to the Omega Dimension for their crimes, where they break out the main antagonist for this season, Valtor. Valtor is a magician/mage who has a dragon flame in him, and he was created by the 3 ancestral witches, who we are introduced to in the first season, but they aren't at the forefront of the plot until now. His goal is also to, surprise surprise, become powerful and take over the magical dimension. Layla, who in some dubs is changed to Aisha, but I will continue to call her Layla, goes back to her realm, because Valtor escapes the Omega Dimension and causes havoc on Andros. At the Princess Ball, King Radius announces that he is going to marry Countess Cassandra, and her daughter, Chimera, turns Stella into this frog thing. Cassandra and Chimera are somewhat antagonists alongside Sky's fiancé, Diaspro, but they aren't main villains, so... We then are introduced to the concept of Enchantix, which at this point is the final fairy form and the most powerful form, and that it can only be achieved through truly sacrificing yourself for someone from your planet. Valtor then makes Layla blind. In the next episode, she sacrifices her chance to heal her blindness by saving the Mermaid Queen, and in doing so, she gains her Enchantix. She then removes the blindness spell on her with her fairy dust. We then get some lore about the Company of Light, which was a group of people that fought against Valtor and the Ancestral Witches. Farragonda and Bloom's parents were part of this, alongside Saladin, eventually Griffin, and some others. Bloom learns that Valtor was the last person to see her parents, so she believes he must know something. Meanwhile, the Specialists and the Winx are invited to Heraklion, where Sky is planning on introducing Bloom as his girlfriend to his parents. However, Diaspro, with the help of Valtor, enchants him, and so he attacks the Winx. There's chaos, and Stella saves her father from dying by sacrificing herself, so she gets her Enchantix. Later, then, Valtor takes over Cloud Tower and has a very tension-filled reunion with Griffin, which, I don't know, low-key, I ship them. Anyway, throughout this time, Valtor has been stealing knowledge and magic from various planets and realms in order to strengthen himself. The Witches of Cloud Tower, under the spell of Valtor, attack Althea. In the fight, Musa saves her country's princess, earning her Enchantix. Valtor and Farragonda fight, and Farragonda gets turned into a tree. The Winx try to help her, so they go to the willow tree in Linfea to reverse time. And Flora saves her younger sister from drowning, so she earns her Enchantix. Valtor then opens the portal to the Omega Dimension and releases prisoners and energy. The portal to the Omega Dimension is unstable and needs to be closed, so Tecna sacrifices herself to close it, which earns her Enchantix. The Winx are heartbroken and go to confront Valtor, where Bloom learns that her parents are likely dead. Sky comes back, unfortunately, and Bloom goes to Pyros, the island or realm of dragons, to get her Enchantix. Bloom gets her incomplete Enchantix, and Timmy finds Tecna still alive in the Omega Dimension. So the Winx and the specialists go to the Omega Dimension to save her. They do end up saving her, and then they celebrate. Then they go to Magix to prevent Valtor from stealing a relic that has Domino's power in a museum. And side note, I love their outfits in this episode. We also meet Naboo in this episode, who is Layla's betrothed and a wizard. Then the Winx go to crash Stella's dad's wedding, ridding him of the curse that Cassandra and Valtor placed on him. Then they go to get the water stars, which are the only opposition to the dragon flame, which Valtor is made of. So they go to the golden realm. And I actually really like this episode. Side note, they go through a bunch of challenges and they eventually get the water stars. Valtor fights the three school heads. So that's Farragonda, Griffin, and Saladin. But it's actually a diversion, and meanwhile he steals Althea's knowledge. And Bloom wants him to, sleep with the fishes, but he says that unless she wants her parents to also sleep with the fishes, she can't do anything to him. The Winx go to Cloud Tower, and Bloom learns that, shockingly, Valtor lied and that her parents are alive and banished somewhere. They then fight the Tricks, and in the finale of the season, Valtor turns into a demon intent on conquering the three schools. The Winx end up ultimately defeating him after this whole cop-out situation where they thought he was gone, but not really. Anyway, the season ends with Bloom making plans to try to find her parents, which, if you've watched it, then segues into the movie where she does end up finding them. So, up until this point, it's been good. I greatly enjoyed the first 3 seasons, and I think the plot was so good. I think the central mystery and motivation tying these seasons together, Bloom and her parents, really make this a very interesting and cohesive set of seasons. The characters are fleshed out and have unique personalities. The relationships between the Winx and also the relationships between the couples are complex and they have a lot of depth. The antagonists are interesting and present genuine threats to the main characters. All in all, the first 3 seasons are incredibly well done, and honestly, they should have just ended it here. But then we get into season 4, and this, in my opinion, is the beginning of the end. Now, season 4 on its own, objectively, is not bad. It's actually pretty good, I think, other than the unnecessary killing of Naboo, which, to talk a little bit about it, the black girlfriend trope is just very much a thing in media for some reason, and it needs to stop. But anyway, season 4 marks that downwards trajectory, because in season 4, the Winx go to Earth to bring back magic, find out what happened to magic on Earth, and to find the last Earth fairy, Roxy. And in my opinion, anytime you have a show that is set in a fantasy, space, or alternative realm, and you come back to Earth, or include Earth in it all of a sudden, that marks the downfall. Listen, you already know what show I'm gonna say. Yeah, Voltron. You knew it was coming. The idea of season 4 is really good, actually, and the mystery of the Earth Fairies, why they disappeared, and the conflict with the Wizards of the Black Circle and the Earth Fairies is really well done. But I think this compelled them to make more seasons, and they just shouldn't have. They also add a bunch of relationship drama and jealousy for no reason, and it messed up a lot of the pre-established relationship dynamics and context we had. Also, side note, Bloom was 16 at the start of the series. How was she engaged to Andy? I'm not sure if that was a mistranslation or something, but he should have been her boyfriend, not her fiance. I will say, if the series had ended as season 4 or even season 5, I think it would still be remembered as a very good show. People would think back on it fondly, and it would have been a very beloved childhood show that ended well. Because season 5, right, with Tritanus in the oceans, as weak and unnecessary of a season that was, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world, and they definitely could have ended it and still had a really amazing show. Because after this, right, season 6 is when it just takes a nosedive. First off, the plot is just confusing. Why is the Legendarium important? Why are we so focused on Earth all of a sudden? I just didn't like the plot or the logic. And with Selena, why are all of these people coming up from Bloom's past? Again, she was 16 when the series started, and she was a pretty boring 16-year-old at that. I don't think she had much of a past. The relationships between the characters and the characters themselves just deteriorate. The art style, ugh. They go from having their own unique kind of look to just being the same copy-paste design, essentially. And do not even get me started on the whitewashing Flora and Layla experience. Stella goes from being an intelligent and complex character to just, oh, she likes fashion. Layla loses so much of her personality and spunk. Musa is just so boring. Tekna just fades into the background, and Flora's just so vanilla now, matching her skin tone in the later seasons. Whereas previously, she had her own struggles and stuff. You could literally replace the characters with rocks, and everything would be the same. And from this point, it somehow gets worse. I know. Season 7 is awful. Again, why the animals and the creatures? And then the character designs get even worse. It hurts my eyes, but God, if you think this is bad, you haven't seen anything yet. And with each progressive season, they need to get stronger and stronger because somehow the Legendarium and Selena are stronger than Valtor. Somehow the leopard chick is stronger and harder to deal with than Darkar. The show's progression makes no sense. Like, at least in season 4 and 5, you could argue that there was a reason for them to gain new powers, like with them being on Earth and then being in the ocean. But past that point, there is no reason, like, at all. It just doesn't make sense to me. And to go on a tangent, season 7's plot makes no sense to me. Like, they're trying to save this endangered animal. I just don't get it. How did we go from mages/witches and wizards intent on destroying and controlling the dimension, and a mystery of trying to find out what happened to your parents, and genuine problems and cool plot, to a National Geographic documentary? Alright, season 8. The only thing I'm gonna say is, what do they do? Riven, my guy, what do they do to you? Bro, Riven's character being so ruined, ugh, it makes me so mad. I love Riven as a character, by the way. Even though he's an asshole, I adore him. Like, oh, you know, he's like Kevin Levin from Ben 10, and I just really like characters like that. What an icon, truly. Anyway, Valtor too. Like, Valtor is supposed to be an objectively hot or attractive man, and this is what they give us? The Winx are supposed to be beautiful and objectively attractive girls, and this is their character design in season 8? I don't know who did this, but I wish upon you an always warm pillow, and I wish that when you wake up in the morning, you find out you forgot to charge your phone. It's insane for me to think about seasons 1 to 3 and how incredible they were, and then seeing season 8. What happened? What in the world happened? It's so clear by the 8th season that they are just dragging this on to make more money. Season 8 brought back Valtor, which just seemed like they were trying to get a loved character back to make people watch. And the plot of season 8 just seems like a recycled version of season 3 and season 5. The first couple seasons had an original plot, but after a certain point, they just reused the same thing over and over. Then, they finally end the show, and we all take a sigh of relief. Because it's finally over. You thought. Did you really think they were done with this? No. How could they think of letting their cash cow go? Here comes in possibly the worst live action adaptation they could have done. Fate, the Winx Saga, was not a Winx Club live action in any capacity. And the thing is, right, that if it was just a show, not attached to Winx Club, it probably could have been pretty good or pretty interesting, but as a Winx Club live action, it does not work. First, Tecna just apparently doesn't exist. There is unnecessary relationship drama between Musa and Riven. Flora and Layla are just there. There's this weird romance between Sky and Stella. The worst thing is that the relationship between Bloom and Stella, which in the show, in Winx Club, is very strong. They're best friends. Stella was the first person Bloom met, and they have a very deep relationship. Stella, personally, in my opinion, is a better match for Bloom than Sky is. Hot take. And in Fate, their relationship is just non-existent. I think the problem is that they tried to go grungy or dark with it, but in doing that, they just completely scrapped any sense of the original show. So again, like I said earlier, if this was just on its own, just a standalone show, it would actually be an okay and fairly intriguing show with an interesting plot. But since they try to spin it as a Winx Club live action, you get people, rightfully, coming into it thinking they're getting a live action Winx Club, when that's just not the case. In all honesty, at this point, you need to stop beating a dead horse and just let this show go. But no, they had to push it further because it's not dead enough for them. There's a reboot now. Okay, I want to be completely nice, and I never want to accuse anyone of anything, but this reboot literally just looks like it's AI. I don't want to say that in case it is, so allegedly, but it looks so strange and not appealing at all. Apparently it's CGI. Can we just properly pay animators to put out a good product? What is wrong with just having an animated show? Let's leave CGI for other things. I don't understand the obsession with making live action things or CGI things over animation. Like, yeah, it may be more expensive, but animation is gonna be more successful than your live action. The only live action recently that I think is actually good is the One Piece live action. And actually, the How to Train Your Dragon live action looks really promising, so even though I don't understand the point of a live action, I think if you do it well, it's fine, but most people can't do it well. There's also no need for them to do a reboot. Why? What was the reason? Can we please just let Winx Club rest in peace? Apparently the reboot is a continuation. Again, the same problem comes back up where you're just going to be recycling the same plot points. If you had to make a reboot, why not do something interesting by setting it in the future? I personally don't like the idea of it being focused on the Winx's children or something. What I think would be really cool is if we had something like this. Let's say that there's a new group of girls that idolizes the Winx and they try to gain their powers like them. Or we focus on the distant future, where the Winx are remembered as heroes, but it's like a legend or myth type of situation. I'm thinking of something similar to how Yu-Gi-Oh! Did multiple series, but all of them have their own interesting plot, and they all still connected to the larger universe. It can also be something similar to Legend of Zelda, where again there is a myth overarching of sort. Maybe Valtorra was sealed and he starts to come back, and so a new group of girls has to face him. It's still the same plot in that sense, but it's automatically more interesting because you have a different group of girls, you have a different time period, and different setting. Maybe you could also instead focus on a group of witches, or maybe on specialists. It would also be really cool to see a male fairy or a male witch or wizard, and a female specialist. These are all really cool ideas that I would love to see. There's so much potential in Winx Club. The lore and world building is so cool, and it exists as a universe in which so much could happen, in which there's so much potential for a multitude of things. It's a perfect, like, space/urban fantasy element, and you can play around with so much in this world, so it sucks that there is no expanding of ideas and there's no thinking outside the box. It sucks to see such an interesting concept and world just go down the drain because of money. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point because I keep talking about how the downfall of media is because of this corporate greed, but I mean, it's the truth. If companies cared more about putting out a good product and actually took pride in their work, we would all be better off. I am not looking forward to the reboot. I don't want to see how they further desecrate a show that I have a very special place in my heart for. The worse the show gets, the worse I feel, because it's just wasted potential, man. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe by some miracle the reboot will be good. I'm not gonna hold my breath though. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for 1K subscribers. I am in awe. I never thought that I would get that many subscribers ever, and I am just so grateful. Thank you guys so much for your support. It truly means the world. I have so many cool videos in the works, so stay tuned. I promise it'll be worth it. Also, I now have channel memberships as well, so you get these cute little kitties next to your name, you get access to some little emojis, and of course, you get behind the scenes content, early releases, as well as some content exclusive for members. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can be a member, or you can also join my Ko-Fi, where you get the same benefits. If you want to support the channel, feel free to become a member. We'll have a lot of fun. As always, all my links, my memberships, my Ko-Fi, Instagram, and TikTok are all in the description box below. Let me know what you guys think of this video. What do you think of the reboot? What do you think about Winx Club and its tragic downfall? Hell, tell me about your day. Mine was pretty good. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And comment as well. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!